Our guest today is the Chief Executive Officer of the Metropolitan Pier and Exposition Authority. This is the agency that owns and operates McCormick Place, the nation's largest convention center, and Navy Pier, Illinois' #1 tourist destination. Prior to joining McPier, our guest today served as President and Chief Executive Officer of the Illinois Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. He served our country in the United States Marine Corps as a machine gunner and is a veteran of the Gulf War. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chief Executive Officer of the Metropolitan Pier and Exposition Authority, Juan Ochoa. Juan?
Thank you very much, Jay, and good afternoon to all of you. I'd like to begin by thanking Governor Pat Quinn and Mayor Richard M. Daley for giving me the opportunity to lead this great entity. I would also like to once again recognize our chairman, Mr. John Gates, and the MPA board, and thank them for their leadership. They are among our state's finest people, and it is an honor for me to serve with you. I'd also like to recognize some of Governor Quinn's staff that are here today, Billy Ocasio, who was recognized earlier, Mireya Hurtado, and Andy Ross. Thank you for being here. And of course, I'd like to recognize three people that are personal friends of mine. Sori Gutierrez, Congressman Gutierrez, his wife, who's here. Dean Martinez, a good friend and good advisor, and my beautiful wife, Alma, who's here. Of course, Jay has already recognized some of the MPA staff, but truly, these are the folks that work a significant amount of hours who are key to running our operation. Here with us are David Costin, General Manager of McCormick Place, Marilyn Gardner from Navy Pier, our Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Richard Ochoa, and of course, Carlos Ponce, our Chief of Staff. I'd also like to recognize Tim Roby and his team at the Chicago Convention and Tourism Bureau, our sales and marketing arm, our partners in labor, hotels, and other hospitality industry leaders that are here with us today. Navy Pier is an important part of the MPA, the top tourist and leisure destination in the Midwest, and a vital economic engine for our city and state. But I am here today to talk about McCormick Place and what must be done to allow Chicago to compete as a convention destination and grow. Make no mistake, bold and immediate action are required. I want to talk first about the business reality we face and then the critical changes we need. We know what we have proposed is right, because like any good business, we have listened to our customers, and this is what they demand. Despite what you may have read, McCormick Place is still the premier convention center in North America. And Chicago is still the preferred destination for the vast majority of convention, trade show, and meeting planners across the country. We have a convenient, centralized location, a world-class public transportation system, and the country's finest restaurants, theaters, museums, and shopping. There's plenty to do once the business day is over. But the main reason why exhibitors come to Chicago is to do business, and that's what they do on our show floors. It's why shows return to Chicago and McCormick Place again and again, year after year. In fact, in the last 3 years, we have hosted 59 new pieces of business. Las Vegas, one of our toughest competitors, has taken notice of the business successes experienced in Chicago. Their new marketing slogan is, Vegas means business. Doesn't that sound familiar? Shows in Chicago set records for attendance, more than at one I apologize, English is my second language here, so I have to. Shows in Chicago set records for attendance, more than at other destinations, and their exhibitors leave here raving about our facilities. But despite the many compliments we receive, we all know that our position in the convention industry is at risk, along with the thousands of jobs and millions of dollars in tax revenues and economic activity that it generates for our city and our state. The current economic situation facing our country is plaguing all industries right now, meaning show organizers nationwide are exploring options to cut costs. Convention business overall has declined by at least 20% nationally, including two of our toughest competitors in Las Vegas and Orlando. Retailers and restaurants are experiencing a similar decline, and in some instances, this decline has been the reason for business closing their doors. I don't think there is anyone in this room that hasn't been impacted by the recession. We have heard all the reports about bank closures, the loss of manufacturing jobs. All industries have been affected. When I came to the City Club 2 years ago, I stated that our position in the convention industry was at risk. I told you then that due to our financial disadvantage, it made it extremely difficult to compete in such an already tough, challenging environment. And that has not changed. In fact, it's even more so in 2010. State law requires MPA to provide a balanced 3-year operating budget. We raise revenues entirely through the operations of McCormick Place, the Hyatt McCormick Place Hotel, and Navy Pier. Our competitors are subsidized by their state and local governments at record pace, often through a dedicated percentage of taxes. As I've been saying for quite a while, in order to realign Chicago's competitive offering, we must face the fact that Chicago is at a major financial disadvantage. The convention facilities in Las Vegas and Orlando are heavily subsidized by tax revenues. Las Vegas receives an estimated 80% of its operating budget from tax revenues, and Orlando receives more than half of its operating budget from tax funding. These subsidies allow those venues to undercut McCormick Place costs for utilities and other services. Contrary to what many believe, MPA receives no operating subsidies. That means MPA operations must be self-sustaining, just like a private business. The tax revenue received by MPA is dedicated to service the capital debt only. The MPA has been asking Springfield for 6 years to allow us to restructure our capital debt. In fact, our bill passed through the Senate twice, but never made it to a vote in the House. To be clear, we are not asking for a blank check. We're just asking for the tools to make us more competitive. As the Tribune wrote in 2007 editorial, when we introduced legislation to restructure our debt, and I quote, "The McCormick Place complex needs tending. It needs to grow if it is to stay competitive against Las Vegas, Orlando, Atlanta, and other cities that yearn to steal Chicago's meal ticket. This financial restructuring would give McPier the tools it needs to allow that. It makes good business sense." Both Las Vegas and Orlando dedicate far more money to market their cities and convention centers than Chicago ever has. We need to do a better job of marketing our city to the nation and the world. The Chicago Convention and Tourism Bureau's budget to market this destination ranks 16. That's 2 down from the last time I was here when they ranked 14th. Among its peers around the country at only $13.7 million, in comparison to Las Vegas at $143 million. But despite these obvious disadvantages, since fiscal year 2007, we've hosted 59 new shows, including prestigious medical meetings like American Society of Clinical Oncology, which represents an economic impact of $55 million a year for the next 10 years. Cost is king when it comes to staying competitive. Let me repeat that. Cost is king when it comes to staying competitive. The new economic reality has shifted people's buying patterns, and our industry is no different. We realize we can be more cost-effective at McCormick Place. We can do things better. We know that not all of our customers are happy. So we are being very aggressive and proactive in bringing reforms to McCormick Place. We are proud at the MPA to lead the way by dramatically cutting our costs and streamlining operations at McCormick Place. An early retirement program, along with further force reductions in 2010, will leave MPA with more than 40% fewer full-time employees than in 2007. A reduction from 700 employees to approximately 400 despite the addition of the West Building. Salary staff at all pay levels will take 12 furlough days and 2 unpaid holidays. These actions have already been largely accomplished and will be fully implemented by end of first quarter of 2010. And we are leading the way on pension reform. MPA implemented a 2-tier pension plan in 2009. New employees are no longer part of the pension plan, but rather are offered a traditional 401k plan. In total, we will have reduced the cost of operations in our facilities by as much as 30% by May of 2010. As Chairman Gates has stated, we are not aware of any private corporation or government agency that has moved as quickly to cut costs and streamline operations as MPA has over the past 6 months. But by itself, the authority can only do so much. Change needs to come from many different sectors and stakeholders in order to truly make a difference. Last week, Governor Quinn, Mayor Daley, and MPA proposed one of the most important pieces of job legislation to arrive in Springfield in some time. We are facing a battle in the convention and hospitality industry, and on behalf of the 65,000 men and women whose jobs are at stake, I am here to tell you that we could have no better generals than Mayor Daley and Governor Quinn. I say that because making McCormick Place more competitive is first and foremost about saving jobs for 65,000 Illinois families and growing opportunities for workers in the future. Last week, the General Assembly passed legislation to install an interim MPA board. We welcome any action that shows that Springfield is focusing on an issue that affects the livelihood of tens of thousands of people. I am here to talk about doing what it takes to restore competitiveness at McCormick Place and position Chicago to remain as the preeminent convention and trade show destination in the world. It will take swift action. It will take commitment from all stakeholders, contractors, hotels, hospitality industry, unions, the MPA, and our elected officials to send a message to our customers that we have heard them and we are serious about change. It takes putting customers first. The solutions we have proposed may seem bold to some, but these steps are the least we must do to face a crisis for the convention industry in Illinois. Conventions at McCormick Place account for $8 billion in annual economic activity and 65,000 jobs. As I said, we must act to protect the livelihood of workers and their families across Illinois. The legislation proposed by Mayor Daley and Governor Quinn lays out what it takes to make meaningful reforms. This bill is about retaining and creating hospitality industry jobs in Chicago and Illinois. The bill has 3 components. 1, it will seek to restructure MPA's capital debt and restore its financial debt. 2, it will simplify work rules and reduce costs. And 3, it will allow us to audit contracts to make sure cost savings are passed on to our exhibitors and show organizers. Untying the complex knot of interest, contracts, and labor agreements that work against our competitiveness will require bold leadership by all stakeholders. We sink or swim together. We can create jobs. We can create new opportunities. But what we cannot afford is to put our heads in the sand and lose not just what we have, but untold opportunities in the future. If we are to change our offerings to our customers in Chicago, MPA must be able to assemble the most efficient and skilled workforce possible and operate according to the best practices of the industry with a focus on customer satisfaction and value. We must have transparency in cost at all levels, including show contractors. Most services at McCormick Place are provided by private companies. MPA must be able to ensure that maximum value is provided to our customers to improve and protect our brand and restore and grow our business. Which brings us to our most current efforts. We have done a top-to-bottom review of our operations in an effort to maximize our cost savings potential. We have cut 20% of our full-time staff. We are currently reviewing our food services operations. We are looking to maximize the use of our convention space. We realize that we need to do more to reduce our electrical costs, and we will. The mayor and the governor's proposal is vital because it provides the MPA with the tools to help us maximize this potential. We challenge all our partners, including sales and marketing arm, the CCTV, labor, contractors, and the leadership of the city and state to work together for a much-needed change. And all the businesses that depend on convention business must also step up. We now face a clear choice: continue the status quo of everyone fighting for a bigger piece of a shrinking pie, or do what it takes to come together and position Chicago to remain the preeminent destination for conventions and trade shows. The MPA takes the challenge seriously to realign its value proposition to match and surpass packages offered by our competitors. This is not an issue for MPA management or labor alone. Facing this crisis will require all of us to step up to the challenge and pull together to restore Chicago's reputation as a convention and trade show destination and secure one of Illinois' most important economic anchors. The time to act is now. We cannot afford to wait. Delay risks losing more customers as they seek greater value and transparency elsewhere. Some of you may have heard the news reports just this week that the Houseware Show is shopping around for alternative venues. We know they prefer to stay here, but they are asking all of our industry leaders to take swift action. And we can expect others to follow suit. We must move swiftly to implement these reforms. Now is the time to eliminate work rules that drive up costs and confuse customers. Now is the time to make contracts transparent and show customers where every penny goes. Now is the time to make the changes in our work rules that will attract more shows, which means more business and more jobs for Chicago and Illinois. Once again, as Chairman Gates has stated, we simply cannot let work rules for a few hundred MPA and show employees jeopardize the livelihood of 65,000 Illinois families. Chicago is the economic capital in the Midwest. If we make the necessary changes today, we will grow our business. We will attract more association business, more corporate business, and more regional business. They will all want to come to Chicago if we reduce the cost of entry. Doing what it takes to save and grow the conventions and tourism industries and jobs in Chicago is all about putting customers first. MPA is committed to its customers and to the people of Chicago and Illinois. We're here to be part of the solution, and we challenge our stakeholders to join us in creating a promising and prosperous future for everyone. Thank you. There we go.
Do we have questions? Our first question is from Kate O'Malley from KO Strategies. What % of cost at McCormick Place are due to labor unions?
Well, the quick answer is that is why we want to have the ability to audit the contractor so we can best pinpoint exactly what that cost is. But as I mentioned, again, we have to act swiftly. and labor is our partner. Labor is a part of the solution, but that is why that provision of auditing is so important.
Our next question is from Joyce Saxon, City Club Board of Governors. Would you endorse turning the oldest McCormick building into a casino?
Well, I can tell you simply that that is clearly above my pay grade.
Do we have any other questions? None whatsoever? Oh, you got questions in the back? Oh, did you write it down? Well, we want them written down. Okay. We got a few more. Thank you. Okay, next one's from person named Ulafemi from Structure Designs. We have been on the MPEA approved list, architecture, engineering services firm for about 4 years and have seen hardly any RFQs or RFPs. What is the future on this issue?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. As I've stated in my speech, that for the last 6 years, the authority has been trying to restructure its debt. What we're asking essentially is to allow the MPA to be given the tools so we can restructure our debt, raise capital, and put people to work, and give us the tools so that we can compete and further subsidize McCormick Place. So I implore all of you, particularly those of you that are looking to do business, to implore your state representatives and your state senators to support us so that we can put people to work.
Any other questions written? No? Okay, with that, we'd like to thank Juan for his time here. And before he goes, we have a City Club mug, which he can have. We have the history of the City Club for his reading in spare time, and a plaque, 1-year membership for City Club.